The sort of house I grew up in contained all of my parents' knickknacks. My mother liked to collect vases and cheap German steins from op shops. And it's these sorts of things that Robin Boyd hated, though. A house really is like a book, and it tells a story about the people who live in the house. It's the things, though, in the house that really flesh out that story. So here, for example, we have Manning Clarke's record player and his record collection. And by looking at these, you can tell something about his musical tastes. Here is his favourite chair. And over in the kitchen are a range of tea cosies that Dimphna made from wool recycled from Manning Clarke's jumpers. It's all of these little objects that tell a story about the people in this house. I believe this house, when it was first built, the locals called it the hen house. Why do you think they likened it to a chook house?
Because of those larger windows and its sloping forms and opening up into the garden space, that's why I think it was called the hen house. That was the whole modernist movement, was actually getting simpler in form and detail, and it's represented in this example.
Many modernist houses don't have an easy-to-follow narrative, where I think this one does, partly because of Manning Clarke's office. It almost does look like the kind of brain of the house. It's a bit like a lobster pot, that room. It's easy to get up, but by God, it's hard to get down. I'm sitting at this desk, which belonged to one of Australia's most distinguished historians, Manning Clarke. It's at this desk that he wrote his 6-volume A History of Australia, using a pen exactly like this, which is a dip pen, surrounded by all of his possessions, his books, and looking over his backyard where he, his wife Dimphna and their 6 children played football in the winter. And because, of course, he came from Melbourne, he barracked for Carlton. It's a significant room in Australian history. It's a writer's room. There's many very personal touches in this room, and one of my favourite ones, one of the very quirky ones I think, are the pictures that Manning Clarke has pinned to the back of the door. Pictures cut from magazines, etc., portraits of his heroes, photographs of his kids. It's these little touches, very personal touches, that help to humanise the space. One of the nice things about this room is that it hasn't been tidied up. All of his pictures are arranged around the place, a pair of old boots up there, and all of this clutter on the floor, for example, just like he's working and that he's just left and gone down those stairs for lunch. This is the Clarke's letterbox. It's a recent addition to the house. It represents something that Robin Boyd hated, something he described as featureism. It's also made from little shells and glass beads, and these came from the Clarke's holiday house. So they represent something. They're a memory of another place. These are important considerations and something that often Robin Boyd forgot about. Other architects, like Robert Venturi in the United States, he looked at all of these things and said, aren't they fabulous? Aren't they inspirational? And he went that way. Whereas Boyd looked at them and said, aren't they terrible? And he went that way. To be honest, my heart is with the Venturis, who looked at these things and said, well, I think they're pretty inspirational. There's something about orange vases and cheap German steins that I rather like.